where there's no money, 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 just cards, cards, cards.
Days of overstuffed wallets in your back pocket or purse might soon come to an end. By 2020, mobile wallets on our smartphones are expected to surpass the use of credit and debit cards.
Nowadays, it seems like we've been hearing more and more about cashless societies. It seems kind of strange, don't you think, to imagine a world where physical cash isn't used, especially when we've been so used to using cash to do our everyday transactions? However, such cashless societies have been developing over the last few years, with numerous payment platforms appearing across the globe to more easily facilitate digital transactions. Technology has made it so that we don't have to carry large amounts of cash with us, and we can simply transfer assets with a swipe or with a press of a button. Sounds really convenient, right? This type of system became even more prevalent when the coronavirus pandemic struck and people across the globe began to look for ways to pay for goods and services without using cash. It's also especially handy for e-commerce shops and online shopping. It seems that the future will be filled with cashless societies. However, how did cashless societies come to be? How do they operate? What is the future for cashless societies? And what are the pros and cons of being in cashless societies? That's what we're going to be talking about in this video, so sit back and relax as I talk to you about cashless societies. This is Business Explained. To learn more about all things money, get educated about how to do business, become business savvy, and enjoy more videos like these, subscribe to my channel and click on the notification bell, and may you be granted with many, many sweet returns. Now, cashless societies didn't start as high-tech as you would think they did. Cashless societies, or societies that did not use money, could be seen all the way back to 8,000 years ago when people used a bartering system to obtain goods and services. People swapped valuables to get things that they wanted and needed. Things like beans, grains, spices, and shells were used to trade and pay for commodities. In fact, salt was a very valuable substance. It was so valuable that it was used to pay for the salary of Roman soldiers. However, commodities did not have a fixed price. The price of an item was typically based on how whoever owned it saw it was worth, so price varied. It was also because of this that fraud began to happen. Sometimes items of lesser value were traded for highly valuable items, and people would be none the wiser about it. When the Bronze Age came in, people used valuable metals for trading. The metals were weighed to estimate their value, and they were shaped into bars and rings to make transactions easier. Paper money, or the cash we're familiar with, only came into the picture about 1,000 years ago, when Chinese traders invented them. Marco Polo brought paper money to Europe after his trip to China in the 13th century. Over the next few centuries, consumers and financial institutions were able to come up with new ways for people to pay. In the 18th century, checks became more prominent. By the 19th century, bank transfers and wire transfers came into play. Western Union was the first to launch its wire transfer service back in 1872, and roughly $2.5 million were transferred each year by 1877. The convenience of plastic cards came by the 20th century. The first transaction card was given out by Western Union, and the first bank card, Charge It, was introduced by Brooklynite banker John Biggins in 1946. Fast forward to the 21st century. Digital payment platforms have become widely available for use. The very first bank to offer online transactions to its customers was the Stanford Federal Credit Union back in 1994. PayPal was launched in 2000, and it was a big part in facilitating online payments between consumers, institutions, and the like. Between 1994 to today, banks all over the world have implemented online payment systems and have created apps for their banks to allow consumers to facilitate their online transactions much more easily. Recently, cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin and Ethereum, new ways of paying digitally, came into the market. While we have all these modes for digital payments, we haven't gone entirely cashless. We still use cash and coins to go about daily transactions, especially when these transactions are smaller. We tend to use digital payment platforms for bigger purchases, as we don't typically carry large amounts of cash with us. Ideally, in a cashless society, each citizen will have a device that will allow them to conduct all their transactions digitally. Today, mobile phones could be configured to send payments. However, we're not entirely there yet. While we do live in highly technological advanced societies, there are still a lot of areas that haven't fully adapted to the advances in technology. A lot of businesses have also not undergone the necessary digital transformation to allow people to pay through digital means. While being in a cashless society does have its benefits, consumers need to be eased into it and fully prepared to adapt going cashless. Let's take a look at some of the benefits of being in a cashless society. Naturally, convenience is the #1 benefit of being in a cashless society. Having a device that grants you access to your money will certainly come in handy, and that isn't the only benefit of a cashless society. Enthusiasts suggest that crime rates would become lower because of the lack of physical assets floating around public spaces. Electronic payment portals would be able to easily keep track of your assets, thus making them more difficult to steal. It would also make it easier to keep track of your financials, in general, because every single transaction is listed down to the cent. Additionally, the management of physical assets costs money, and business would always need to have cash on hand to deal with cash transactions. These are limiting cashless societies aim to fix that. As an added bonus, traveling becomes much easier with cashless payments, as electronic payment platforms can automatically convert money to any currency. Now, no system is perfect. Adopting a cashless society also has its cons. One of them is privacy. It would be harder to keep a low profile in a cashless system because you would need a verifiable identity to set up your account, and your information is likely to stay online. Additionally, it may make the divide between rich and poor even greater, as rich may have more resources to adapt to a digital cashless society. Unless devices for cashless transactions could be given to all citizens, a cashless society may not work out. Not to mention, tech difficulties and glitches could prevent you from accessing your money. It won't happen all the time, of course, but it could come at a very inconvenient time. What are your thoughts on cashless societies? Seeing the pros and cons, do you think it is worth adopting one? Let me know what you think in the comments section below. I'll be responding to all of you who comment within the first hour. If you like this video, you should definitely check out my other video called Cashless Societies Explained. It seems that everyone is constantly in pursuit of the ever-elusive goal of achieving work-life balance. Students, employees, and bosses alike are trying to find a way to attain that goal. You hear professionals talk about it all the time, and there are loads of tips on the internet on how you can work toward achieving perfect work-life balance. And so, you've probably tried pursuing work-life balance yourself, only to get disappointed whenever you don't feel like you're able to achieve it. That's why I'll be letting you in on a little secret. Work-life balance is a fallacy. Why is that so? What are people supposed to do instead? And how should we cope with the work we have to get done? Well, that's exactly what we're going to be talking about in Cashless Societies Explained. Stay tuned, stay educated.